Hey, g'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Crew Fusion. It's been a while. I know, yes, it's been over a couple of years since I've made a video. I'm back at it, and I'm really looking forward to it. Now, do you remember back in the day when Crew Fusion was reporting all of the aviation accidents? That's what we used to do. Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of YouTube. It was all about aviation crashes. I really enjoyed doing that. It was a while ago, and look, I really apologise to those of you that may have a little bit of a hole in your heart or a bit of a hole in your life, because Crew Fusion Aviation that once was has silently fallen away. I apologise. Look, to be honest with you, I got quite sick of reporting on plane accidents. I love aviation. I love the learning that you would get from looking at case studies and looking at plane accidents. I found that using plane crashes to study or to learn how to fly safer is kind of similar to a married couple studying divorce and domestic violence in order to try to get better at their marriage. Doesn't really sound quite right, does it? Yeah, that's what I've been doing all this time, and that's actually what the industry has really been doing for so many years. Is we're learning from the bad things to try to make us good. I'm married. I definitely don't try to learn from all the bad things that are happening to other people or from us. Well, when something goes wrong, I like to learn from it, but I'm not out there studying divorces and domestic violence in order to try to make my marriage better. I'm looking at the good things and I'm wanting to improve on those. And that's kind of the theme of where this video is going to go today. If you only look at the bad things that are happening and you're only focusing on the negative, besides being absolutely horrible for your mental health, you're actually losing a lot of data on why good things are actually happening. Honestly, if you think of the ratio between bad things that happen and good things that happen, the bad, unfortunately, always seems to win in our society, doesn't it? Hey, drama sells. Do you remember that old thing that used to say about the news in the 80s and 90s? I think it's still relevant today. If it bleeds, it leads. I'm sure they say that at Channel 9 before they go onto the news at night time. That's what they want. With the 24-hour news cycle that we have these days, where they need to get people to watch it, drama really does sell. I think it's important that we start having a really good look at that mindset, however. Yeah, if it works for the news, so be it. Helps sell newspapers, gets people to watch the news, okay. But what's it doing to society? Really, that's not a hard answer. We need to focus on the positives more. We need to focus on what's going on when nothing is going on. Now, if you're in a safety role, you're a manager in a workplace, you're in a role in your workplace where you have a vested interest in your team, in the people that you work with and work for. Now, that's a pretty big question. What's going on when nothing is going on? You know the feeling, right? Everyone of you workers is out, like your workers are out and about doing their jobs. Okay, machinery is whirring in the factory. Aircraft are getting fixed. They're being flown by pilots who are professionals, and they take off and they land, and everything's happening safely. It's perfect. Builders are building houses. Doctors and nurses are working together, doing incredible major surgeries on people. Customers are getting fed. Work is getting done. It's happening. All right. And your boss might come to you one day and he might ask how things are going. And your answer is going to be, nothing's going on. Everything is normal. Perfectly standard, normal ops answer. It is. You may be right. No safety issues are popping up. No one's coming to you injured. So from a safety perspective, 100%, nothing's going on. But let me assure you, there is always something going on. Your team is out there doing work. They're operating dangerous machinery. They're flying an aircraft. Builders are walking up on roofs. Doctors and nurses are conducting the open heart surgeries. But nothing's going on because they all know what they're doing. They've all been trained well. They're all smart. They're intelligent people. They're adapting to their day, and they're making stuff happen safely. It's really cool. All right, it doesn't matter whether you're following a well-documented procedure or whether you're making things up as you go. They're doing everything they can to go home safely to their family, to their friends at the end of each day. And that's super important. Now, when I went through that explanation, did I mention anything about the bad things in order to make good things happen? No, I didn't. When you go to work, you don't go to work thinking I'm going to have an accident today. You go to work in a positive mindset, positive state of mind, thinking I'm going to go home today. And that's a perfect way to go to work, right? That's the best way to do it in order to turn up to be your best self, be the best you that you possibly can be. You know, that's super, super important. So we focus on these positives. Well, look, to be honest, who wants to be Captain Negative? And who wants to hang around with the Captain Negative? That negative person who always finds the pessimistic person always finds the bad in no matter what's happening. Yeah, there's people out there, unfortunately. Yeah, all right. It's a bit draining. It's not really healthy. Okay, learning from the positive, learning from the good things that are happening, learning from work being done well. It allows us to be better humans. It allows us to be better than the day before. It allows us to be better than the next person. It puts us out there to be a positive, radiant, exuberant person. Okay, that sort of mindset gets things done. It's a mover and a shaker. Okay, that's what I love about it. It makes a massive difference, right? Being positive and making efforts to understand each other is what is the best thing about human nature. We have a choice in order to do that, and it makes it amazing fun to be around people like that. Okay, so let's play. So you're learning from work being done well. Okay, there is so much more data that you can use from work done well. Hey, so let's take a bit of a look at an infographic on what I'm talking about here. So hopefully if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to put this up on your screen and have a look. But yeah, traditionally, this is how we've been taught to create safety. There's a pie graph. 99.5% of the pie graph is blank, and there's a 0.5% of what actually goes wrong. Okay, we're actually concentrating on that 0.5%, aren't we? When we're looking at all the accidents and all the incidents that are occurring in our place, that 99.5% is actually getting missed out. So when you consider a better approach to creating safety, that pie graph then illuminates into just so many different facets of what we want to talk about. We're talking about competency, diversity and inclusion, well-being, the relationships with your workers, giving them empowerment, showing them that they're allowed to work autonomously. It provides them frontline ownership. There's psychological safety in there as well. Then this really starts getting interesting. So competency, like the normal knowledge, the skills, the abilities and the behaviours that you have that you can contribute as an individual to the organisational performance, that's massive. And if you don't have it, if your training system hasn't given you the opportunity to have that competency level that's reasonably high, then that's another factor that is definitely going to affect the safe outcome of the work that you're doing. The relationships that you're allowed to have with your co-workers, with the management, with the executive management. If you're able to break down some of the barriers that exist in your workplace, and you're actually able to approach someone of influence, whether it be a manager or an executive, and say, hey, look, what have you ever thought about doing this in a different way? And they actually want to listen to you. There's a good relationship set up there. That's fantastic. And you can move mountains with that kind of thing. How about allowing your team to empowering them and to provide them some autonomy so that you can let them do things on their own, but empowering them to learn, to innovate, to adapt, and just get better. You'd be amazed. Micromanaging is a very ineffective way of managing, of course, because there's just that fear that something's going to go wrong and you're instantly going to be jumped on. But allowing someone to have the autonomy and empowering them to be able to do that, it's just a magic formula that can help people out. What about a little bit of frontline ownership? Right, it's a quality improvement approach. Right, it's all about quality. It deeply engages with your staff to empower and encourage them, like to creatively develop solutions to challenges that they're facing on a daily basis. All right. It also, what it does is it encourages the frontline staff to acknowledge their own capacity and their own potential and be able to work on that, which is fantastic. Psychological safety, the ability to put your hand up, the ability to ask questions, the ability to come up with a new idea and not be laughed at, not be shot down, not be there's no retribution, there's no fear that if you come up with this new concept or whatever it is, that you're going to be treated with respect and going to be treated safely, so that is actually going to get heard. I have seen that go wrong so many times in my career, and I've actually seen it go right quite a few times, and it is amazing when there's psychological safety in the workplace, and it allows it to happen. When we talk about well-being, here's another piece of the pie that is just so critical if you want to have an organisation that succeeds. And it's not just the absence of disease or the absence of an illness. Well-being is a very complex combination of a person's physical, mental, emotional, and social health factors that allows them to turn up to work every day in a particular frame of mind that allows them to get good things done. It's incredible when it happens. I'll go into well-being. Actually, I'll go into all of these things in later podcasts and YouTube videos, because there's just a lot of gold in here. And diversity and inclusion, being able to identify the full spectrum of human differences is diversity, right? Everyone's unique. Everyone's got different characteristics in lines of gender, sexual orientation, whatever, religious beliefs, their age, their ethnicity, their race, where they come from in the world, their culture, their class, their physical abilities. Oh my God, there is so much in that. It is incredible. And when you can understand them in your workplace, well, look, put it this way, if you don't understand them and you don't care about them, are you going to get the best out of your people? Probably not. Okay, so there's so much in that. And it's always good, obviously, like inclusion is incredibly important as well. Everyone, all individuals are treated fairly and respectfully. They have equal access to opportunities and resources, and it allows them to contribute fully to your organization's success. So when you're concentrating on all of these different facets, it's like this is what you need for your organization to be fit, to be game fit, to be match fit, to be ready to go. And if you're only concentrating on what goes wrong, there is no way you're going to succeed. There's no way you're going to have any success whatsoever. You're just rocking up to work every day and doing your job and not actually working on too much. When you're practicing these things every day, it's incredible what you can accomplish. The unfortunate thing is, and I'm pretty sure the organisation I work for has it, I'm pretty sure a whole lot of organisations out there have it as well, is this whole database of accident reports. Things that have gone wrong, some of them are quite serious, some of them are just like near misses. But they're all things that have gone wrong and they're all kind of negative. Yeah, we can learn from them. 100% we can learn things from them. Okay? And that's what we end up doing. We learn from them in order to not do that again. But have you noticed that bad things still keep on happening, people? Yeah, it's true. Planes keep on crashing. People fall off ladders. Maintenance mistakes happen. Car accidents still occur every single day. It's okay that these things happen. It's completely normal. It's in our nature. We're not perfect. We're human. We're fallible. Bad things are going to happen. Why are we still learning from them, though? This is the reason why I'm doing this this pivot. Oh, I hate that word. There's that business term that I really dislike. Pivot. No. Let's just make it a change. Why am I changing? Why am I changing my mindset? Look, I'm like I said, I'm over-reporting on plane crashes, and I'm looking forward to do bigger and better things in that pre-accident, in that proactive situation. I've done so many years of accident case studies on the Facebook and the Instagram, that sort of stuff. I loved making the videos. Not the best quality, but yeah, I get that. Hopefully you got something out of them, but but I've also been a human factors facilitator for many, many years. I've done full courses of human factors, like 2-day course with a team of people. I've done them so many times it's not funny. Really, really enjoy doing them, right? But I've actually come to, when you learn from case studies of all these terrible things that have happened in history, yes, there is 100% something to learn from them, but is it the best and the most effective way to learn how to better do things? Is it the best way to learn about safety? Is it the best way to motivate your people? I can guarantee you, I did plenty of, you talk about a plane crash with a bunch of pilots and load masters and a couple of maintenance technicians, and none of them walked out of there going, "Yes, that was the best human factor session I've ever done. Man, I want to do that every day. That was so much fun." No, they walked out of there going, "Holy crap! I hope that doesn't happen to me." Or like the way that plane just crashed. Yeah, that's. I hope that never happens. Okay, they don't walk out with a positive mindset. It goes along the same lines as if you've ever done an accident investigation, you're the person that interviews the person that's been involved in an accident or incident, no matter how serious or minor it was. All right. The questions that you generally end up asking is normally, we try not to incriminate anyone. In fact, that's one of the key points about going through the fact finding part of an accident investigation. You don't want to incriminate anyone. You don't want to punish anyone, especially at that point. You don't particularly want to make anyone feel bad. But human nature tells us, when you go through people saying, "Okay, what happened here? What happened here? Why did you do that? Why did you do that? And what was it? Why do you think the outcome turned out to be something negative?" No one walks out of that situation going, "Yes, I feel really good about that." No. Learning teams, on the other hand, imagine doing it in a proactive sense. So nothing's happened, there's been no accident whatsoever. We turn up to your work on just a normal day and say, "Hey, team, let's do a learning teams. This sounds like lots of fun." And you bring half a dozen or 10 people or whatever into a room and you start talking about it. "Hey, how's work? What's going on in your workplace? What are the hazards you're identifying? What can we do better? What things have you encountered during your normal day at work that you think you can do better?" And there's a myriad of questions that you can ask. And people initially, well, I've done a few of these, right? And initially people are like, "What's going on? This is a bit weird," because it's not what they're used to. It's proactive, you're being positive. It's like, what's going on here? But the data you can get out of that learning team session, which hopefully someone can then take to one of your leaders and say, "Hey, look, this is what your team's actually talking about, and this is what they think might actually work in this organization to make things actually improve and do better." I've seen managers go, "Whoa, that's awesome data. Thanks for that. I'm going to use that." And that's really positive. I really love it when it happens. So the learning in the proactive situation versus learning in the reactive situation after an accident occurs, that's the old way. And I will put it out there, that's the human nature way. We need to try to make that mindset change to learning in the pre-accident situation, because it's really important. Let me tell you a little story. A few years back, I was really lucky enough to be posted into a position within Air Force. The manager, the big manager at the time, she called me and we had a phone interview, and she said, "Easty, what I really want to do here, your job is to literally help change the culture within this part of our organization." And I lit up. I was like, "Yeah, this is awesome. I love culture. Not particularly the culture that ends up on top of your yogurt if you leave it out in the sun for a while. Not so pretty. But the way we do things around here, there's so much you can do with that. Especially if it's a negative culture, it doesn't take much to kind of flip it to make it into a bit more of a positive culture." So I was really chuffed. I thought this was a great opportunity for me, and the team that I worked with, all absolutely amazing guys and girls. I loved working with them up in Amberley when I was there. Literally the best part of my career. Okay, was this job. It was awesome. Okay, but unfortunately, the culture within the particular unit that I was posted to, it wasn't outstanding. Unfortunately, it had a pretty bad rap. Right. Unfortunately, there was a lot of accidents occurring that had occurred in the previous sort of year to 2 or 3 years. Some of them were unfortunately quite serious. Right. And really the main guts behind why there were some accidents happening, the common theme, was this organisation had a very much a can-do nature. The entire workforce, it was just embedded with them. Crack on, despite what you've got to work with, or what time frames you've got to work with, because you've got to get that job done by this particular time. That was completely normal ops for this organisation, unfortunately. So one of the first things myself and my colleagues actually started getting after was human factors training. We were actually directed to do it by the organisation. That's one of the systems that they wanted to put in place to help recage the workforce into a more positive mindset. And I thought it was fantastic. We all thought it was great. So we all put some courses together and we started delivering them. So every week for 2 years, at least the part I was involved in, we trained a new classroom full of people every 2 weeks. It was great fun. It was a pretty good course, but the course was developed in the 80s and 90s. Still had value. It still has value today, 100%. However, a lot of the content was learning from case studies, all right, from all the bad things that had happened, and there was also obviously value in that, and a lot of people took a lot away and learned a lot, sure, but was it the most effective way? One of those case studies that we learned from was Piper Alpha. Now, if anyone's ever done any CRM, NTS, human factors training, especially in the aviation space, and you bring up the old Piper Alpha case study, you get the eyes rolling in the back of the head. People, their eyes start glazing over. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe we're covering on Piper Alpha again. Yeah, it's pretty funny. In human factors space, Piper Alpha has definitely been overdone. Look, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to leave a link in the bio. If you haven't seen anything about Piper Alpha, it's an oil rig that had a very serious accident in the 1980s up in England. Scotland, very distinct difference there. 163, I think it was, people were killed literally because one night a team changed a valve. They didn't do the paperwork right effectively. They went to turn on that valve. The other valve of the redundant system failed. So they're like, okay, look through the paperwork. There's nothing on this valve that's been changed. Cool, let's turn it on. They turned the pump on. It leaked, it caused an explosion, the whole place caught on fire, and unfortunately we had a massive loss of life in an oil rig out at sea. Like I said, I've done, I first did human factors courses back in the mid-90s. If a facilitator really didn't know what he was doing, he would just bring up Piper Alpha again and again and again, every time you did a refresher every 2 years, and it got really boring. So what I did, I'm like, I'm not going to deliver Piper Alpha to these guys. It's a bit of an old story. I'm going to find something new. So I looked at the Deepwater Horizon. That was a good one. There's a couple of other incidents that were much more contemporary that had happened recently that the younger crowd these days were probably going to relate to more. And I threw them into the course. Okay, and they were good. They worked really well. Until one day, I forgot my hard drive. Left the hard drive at home. Oops, I made an error. The only case study I had on that day to use was Piper Alpha. I'm like, okay, sorry guys, I'm going to roll out Piper Alpha. But when I asked them, who's seen it? They're like, no, I got no hands. So it was good. It was an opportunity to show an old case study, see what we got out of it. Let's go. So the team watched it, they liked it, but there was two guys in the room, they freaked out. Their eyes were like dinner plates. I'm like, are you guys okay? And they're like, we've got something we need to say, but we're not sure this is the right forum to do it. I'm like, okay, go ahead, what's going on? And they said, our workplace, we just wrote down a bunch of notes from, what went wrong in that case study, and everything that's on that that went wrong there is currently going wrong in our workplace. And I was like, okay, that's a bit awkward, okay. So we pulled it aside, we had a chat outside a bit later, and went through it all. And I was like, okay, this is actually quite serious. This is not just we've gone past learning, now we need to actually do something about this. So I went through a bit of a learning event with those guys, and actually they showed me around their workplace. And once again, my eyes were like dinner plates. I'm like, these guys are actually on the money. This is pretty serious. And the band-aid fixes that they've been putting over this workplace for years and years and years and years and years are about to fall off. And yeah, this could be a Piper Alpha here. We don't want that to happen. So I was lucky to be in a position where I was able to go to the big boss, basically the commanding officer of the unit, and say, hey, sir, can I take 5 minutes of your time, because I've got about an hour's worth of stuff I need to show you. And he's like, sure, come on in, Nexty, no worries. So I sat down with him. I was nervous as all hell. I'm like, I've never done this before. I've never been in a situation where I've had to give a manager, like a big manager, pretty serious bad news, right? But I just rolled out with it. I said, this is from your guys working here. I want to talk about what they feel is going wrong in their workplace. So I laid it out to him. It took about an hour, like I said. And at the end of it, he's like, whoa, like, this is on the money. I said, yeah, absolutely. I can hook you up with the guys. We can take a walk down there right now. The next day, he was like, XT, we're going for a walk around. You can show me. I said, yeah, cool. Walked around, and he was freaking out. He's like, okay, we need to do something about this. And I was like, well, okay, fantastic. Actually doing something about this, and this is actually really cool. Now he talked to his boss. That boss talked to their boss. Eventually, one of the highest people within our organisation was on scene. It took a couple of weeks, but that's okay. They're busy people. And we showed them around. And they were like, okay, this is quite serious. So from that one little video, where we watched, yeah, it's Piper Alpha. These guys took something away from it, and that escalated within a few weeks to get the funding to fix this place. And I have never been so chuffed in my entire life. Right, the team I was working with were like high fives, because we've actually had a massive win here just from showing these guys Piper Alpha and running them through the importance of human factors in the workplace, in the course, and safety, human and organisational performance, those kinds of things. It was a massive win. So the important little nugget to take away from that story is you've got to listen to your workforce. You've got to allow them the opportunity to open up, open and frank conversations. Okay, set up a situation where it's completely safe, psychologically safe for them to tell you everything going on. Think outside of the box a fair bit, and the walk around of the section, asking a bunch of questions. That is exactly what they need. Listen to the worker, let them tell you exactly what's going on, and then take that, escalate that through your chain of command to actually do something about it. And it is absolutely incredible when that actually can occur and does happen for real. And another piece of important information from that story, Piper Alpha is not dead. So if you're a human factors specialist and you're out there trying to teach this stuff, give it another crack with a younger crowd. You might actually get some value out of it. It's pretty cool. So it's time to stop concentrating on what went wrong, and let's start being proactive. Let's start leaning forward and start learning from work going well. Because if operating your safety system within your organisation is based around the drama of what goes wrong every day, you may very well, unfortunately, end up being one of those people that ends up on the 24-hour news cycle. Okay? Because what's going on when nothing is going on is the critical data that you may need to start to consider, starting to track. Okay, that's very, very good data. So if you want to learn from all the positive things that are happening in your workplace, how do you do that? How do you track it? Got a bit of an answer for you. I'm going to put a shout out to the two Brents, Brent Sutton and Brent Robinson. They've actually come up with an app. They run a company called Learning Teams Inc. And they've come up with an app. It's an artificial intelligence based app. You basically, it's on your phone, you carry it around with you all day long. If something good happens, hey, you chuck it in there. If something really good happens, that's another good bit of information for you. Even if something bad does happen, or it looks like there's a bit of a hazard, something does go wrong, you can put all that data into the phone. It all goes into an AI bot sort of database, right? And the information that it provides you is actually pretty good. It does. I can't explain it super well at this stage but I want to at some point. But it comes out with a quad chart, a picture on a page, effectively, with 4 different sort of systems that you can give to a worker, you give to a manager, you can give to anyone and say, this is what's actually happening in this workplace in the last week, today, the last year, whatever sort of time frame you've put on it. And it shows you the work done well and what is actually going well, and a couple of also things about what's going bad. Okay, and that's something that someone can look at, because who wants to read a 74-page accident report? No one. No one's going to learn from that. But if you can throw one page in front of someone and say, this is what's going on today with work done well, you actually get a golden amount of information out of it. So yep, shout out to Learning Teams Inc. Take a look at their app. I'll drop a link in the comments below for that as well. They've done a fantastic job on that, and it's a tidal wave of new systems that is coming out that we can actually use to track that critical work done well data. It's really, really cool. Now with this story I told you before, working in this organisation, it started out, it's very much a pretty bad culture where when something went wrong, they wanted to find somebody accountable. Yeah, someone needed to be blamed, someone needed to be punished. A lot of people call that the old way, and now we've got a new way where we try to learn and improve from that. I don't like to call it the old way as such. I just like to call it human nature, folks, because that's what it is. All right. All you've got to do is turn on the Today Show or Sunrise in the morning and watch the morning news. And no matter what's going on, Carl and Sarah want to find someone to blame. They want accountability when something goes wrong, whether it's no matter what the situation, they track down who's going wrong, because as I said, drama sells, and that fuels the 24-hour news cycle. So it's completely human nature to want to blame and punish people, especially if something goes wrong in a normal workplace. But here's the thing: you can blame and punish on one side, or you can learn and improve. Now imagine that's on a set of scales, okay? The more you're learning and improving, hopefully your blaming and punishing is going away. But if you start blaming and punishing people, whoop, the learning and improving goes away, okay? If you start blaming people, they're not going to learn from it because there's fear, there's anxiety, right? They've been attacked, and they when you've been attacked, out comes the cortisol and all the bad drugs in your body, and you are not in a learning frame of mind 100%. You just can't do it, okay? If you start punishing people, like the last person that did something wrong got punished, there's no way someone else is going to report the next thing that goes wrong. They're just going to hide it, right? They're going to lie, hide, and fake their way out of that one, okay? And there's going to be no improvement in that situation whatsoever. So that blame and punishment cycle destroys learning and improving in your workplace. Learn and improve is vital, is happily enough, is the fourth principle of the human and organizational performance principles. So it's super, super important that we're learning and improving. Okay, you cannot do both. It's as simple as that. The choice of learning and improving or blame and punishment lies within your organization. How capable are your leaders, your managers, of fulfilling that principle? Something's just gone wrong in your workplace, bang, someone's been injured, oh my God, first aid, put them in an ambulance, whatever needs to happen, get them sorted, get the people sorted, 100%, that's got to be your first priority. Once that ambulance starts driving away, everyone's standing around in a huddle going, wow, what just happened? Oh my God, who did that? Who was responsible? How did that guy just get injured? Right? That's when the old stories of blame and punishment really quickly start rolling in. It's a conscious choice that needs to be made, because I said that's human nature to start having that discussion. What's just gone wrong? It takes someone to go, hey, okay, what went wrong? What can we learn from this incident today? What can we learn straight away? Right? What can we improve on that will hopefully put controls in place so that if that machine breaks or that person falls off that ladder or something happens, whatever injured that person just then, what can we improve so that if that happens again, and it more than likely will happen because human error, as we know, principle 1 is completely normal, what controls can we put in place so that that person doesn't end up in an ambulance like that fellow that just got dragged away? Okay, very, very important conversation to have. There's 1,000 questions you can ask that make that conversation go so much better than instead of who did it, who was the last person who touched it, and what do we need to do to blame them? No. Is the person okay? What can we learn from what just happened? Everybody come in, tell me all of your stories, tell me the way you saw it. Okay, let's learn from that. What do we need to improve so that our controls are better? So that when it happens again, they don't get hurt. Super, super, super important conversation to have. Like I said, it's a choice. So to wrap up, hey look, quick shout out. I mentioned the Brents before. I mentioned Glennis McCarthy, guys like Todd Conklin, Matt Compher, all of these people in the Safety Differently, in the HOP space that are out there doing fantastic work, educating the world for free on all of these great principles of doing work better, operationalizing organizational excellence. Oh my God, I can't believe I just remembered that. Operationalizing organizational excellence, making your workplace so much better in the safety space by not looking at investigations and finding out what went wrong, but by working in a proactive, pre-accident investigation situation, getting learning teams, talking to your teams on a normal day when things are going great and the sun is shining and life is good. Learn from them on those days so that you can operationalize organization excellence. Can't believe I just said it again. That's so good. It's becoming part of my normal language. It's actually kind of scary, folks. Good fun. Anyway, hey, have a look in the comments below. Look, at what I'll do is I'll put a couple of links to podcasts, to books, to those kinds of things that are really important that I've spoken about today. Don't forget the 5 HOP principles. Error is completely normal. Blame fixes nothing. Systems drive behavior. Learning and improving is vital. And leadership response to failure matters. We've talked about 2 or 3 of those points today. Don't worry, I will be talking about them quite a bit in the future because that's what I love. Okay, take a look also in the link. I've got some Eventbrite website stuff where I've got some online courses happening. I've got some face-to-face courses happening in Sydney. I'd love for you to come along to those. We always have a good time on those sort of things. Love for you to be there for those. Until then, ladies and gents, my name's David East from Crew Fusion, reminding you how valuable it can be to start building a better crew and building a better you. A little bit cheesy, but that's okay. Hey, it's been emotional. See ya.
Hit me like a ton of bricks. Doesn't matter, weak or strong. Take your time and do your trick.